Well, welcome to another episode of Communication. I'm Naomi White in Brisbane, Australia, and today I'm joined by Ali Hill on the Gold Coast. How are you, Ali?
I'm really well, but it's one of those questions that feels like there's a pre-COVID-19 question and there's a post-COVID-19 question, right? But right here on the Gold Coast, it actually couldn't be a better time of year to be in isolation. So yeah, I'm really well.
I know it's amazing. It's so hot. I mean, it's autumn and it's still 30 degrees. I mean, it's
Yeah,
never this hot.
yeah.
Ali, thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Oh, isn't that the ultimate question? It's such a delight to be chatting with you. So, Ali Hill, I'm the CEO of Pragmatic Thinking. We're a behaviour and motivation strategy company. So, we work with a lot of big corporates around leadership and culture. A lot of that is in training. So, we can talk a little bit later about the impact of the current environment. I'm also a wife, so I'm in business with my husband, who's got a background in psychology. I'm a psychologist by trade. And a lot of people say, how do you work together? How do you how do you be in business together? You've both got psychology backgrounds. How does that work? Um, but for a lot of people who are probably right now working at home with their partners or spouses or family, we've been doing that for 15 years. So um, yeah, that's a big part of our role. I'm mum to two kids. So Patrick is 12, my daughter Kate is 10. Um, and yeah, I live on the Gold Coast, which I think is just a really beautiful part of the world.
Very fortunate. Yes, it's gorgeous. So tell me how this COVID-19 situation has affected you and your situation.
Look, I think the biggest impact is on our business. I don't think there's a single workplace that hasn't been impacted, either exponentially changed if you're in the hand sanitizer business or the toilet paper business, or there's been a massive impact. So, from a business perspective, we do so much training, which is face-to-face delivery, running sessions, also working with conferences and doing big events, and that pretty much just fell off a cliff when social distancing and work from home kicked into gear. Which those decisions were the right decisions, but significant impact on our business and revenue, and continues to be the case, particularly when there's just that uncertainty about when is this going to end. So it did mean that really early on we had to make some tough decisions around the business. We had to give notice to about half the team, which they understood, and I think is probably a testament to the people that we work with in our culture, that they were incredible through that time. But still, the impact on families,
Mm,
and what they're going to face in a marketplace that actually is pretty tight as well.
mm.
So wore those decisions pretty toughly. I mean, from a business point of view, we definitely had people working from home very quickly, and we made that transition very easily, and we're now shifting into a lot of virtual delivery. Have developed some new programs which are getting some great results and starting to pick up some conversations again, but it's definitely a different lay of the land out there. On a personal level, we had our kids home for the last 2 weeks of last term, and then school holidays, and we're now into the second week of term 2. So 6 weeks they've been at home, and they're actually coping really, really well. I think in a lot of ways they're actually loving that Darren and I are home. We travel quite a bit, so they're enjoying having us around, but it has its moments. They're ready to catch up with friends as well. Um, and then, the reality of this also hits home. We have my dad live with us. He lives in a granny flat down the back, and he's currently going through chemo treatment, which he has done previously. He's had previous rounds of chemo, but when you talk about who is vulnerable when it comes to COVID-19, he sits right in that pocket. So that was part of the decision to have the kids home and just try and minimise and mitigate any exposure if possible. Um, but I guess it has helped to keep perspective, to go, this is who we're making these changes and these sacrifices for. And look, he's been coping really well. I've needed to parent the parent and tell him he's not allowed to go out, even though he's wanted to. So there's tough conversations on all fronts.
Yeah, yeah. My God, you've been hit in multiple ways through this process. So, what advice have you got for others that may benefit them? I'm sure you've got a lot with your psychology background and with all the experience that you have.
Look, I mean, I think part of the advice is just to share what's going on for each other in these times, rather than getting caught up in your own world, caught up in your own thoughts, which can lead us down those paths of catastrophe, or what might happen here. There's nothing I can do, feeling a bit out of control. The more that we can reach out and connect with people, I think that's really valuable. I Yeah, look, I think advice wise, um, from a business point of view, in a really practical point of view, we actually sat down and almost did a hierarchy of needs. What are the things, even for the business? So what are the things that we need to just prioritize? And it came back to, how do we be a lawful business? How do we make sure that we have enough money to pay what is required to be paid? Debts, including what's owed to staff, and taxation. So it almost came back to bare basics in terms of those hierarchy of needs. And then how do we actually triage to make sure that we've got something out the other end of this? What does that look like? And then what can we do to best support the people within our team? Knowing that we've really got a solid base of integrity in the business and the brand, which is going to be important when we start to go back out and have conversations with clients.
Mm.
And then the top hierarchy is, let's keep it as it is as much as possible. So that having those frameworks really helped with some of those tough decisions. But I think even on a personal level, that helps to go, well, what is my frameworks? What are the things that really matter? What's the non-negotiables? What's almost the key things that we have to ensure will continue? And then where might be the levels up from that? And almost found, going through that process, having that triage of decisions starts to then help you be a little bit creative about, what do we do differently? Because otherwise you can get caught in survival mode, which is understandable when you feel like you've been hit from a few different directions. So if you can kind of feel like, okay, we've got the survival sorted, then how this looks now, there's a few other options. There are a few other things that we can do. I think on a personal level, also, every habit that we've ever had is up for grabs.
So true.
Yeah, and I think there's something liberating in that, uh, to actually now go, oh, did that serve me before, or was that a bit of a waste of energy or focus? Is there something else that I can do with it? So
So
we've
what
been,
explains?
we've been really conscious. We, as I said, we live on the Gold Coast. We're pretty close to some beautiful bushland here where you can do hikes and treks. So most afternoons, the kids and I will put on our hiking boots and go up into the bush for half an hour, so it's not long, and just kind of play in amongst the bushland and in these treks. And it's just not something I would have done in amongst the normal busyness of life. Getting down to the beach, getting back into running. So those sort of things I've been really, really conscious of, just pausing and taking the time. And I can start to see now, and Naomi, you might be feeling this as well, is if we come out, what do I want to pick up again,
Mm,
rather than just pick up the bag that was waiting at the door because that was the bag I took off.
mm,
I think we get the chance now to go, oh, was that serving before? Um, we're hearing this term of new normal. I'm not really sure that what was happening before was that normal anyway. When you're in business, things are so up in the air all the time, and you're constantly kind of changing and evolving and innovating. This is a substantial change, absolutely. But I think the skills of just facing it and going, oh, how do we make a decision from here, are still the same skills, yeah, as we come out the other end of it. So I don't know if that gives any advice other than to kind of go, where's that survival, but also start to see what might be some of the opportunities, both personally, but also business-wise or professionally.
No, I love the way you're thinking about that. I love your framework. And it's funny, everybody I speak to, or almost everybody I've spoken to, is going through this, has used this time to go through the process and ask, is this the life that I want to live? Is this all there is? You know, am I doing the job that I want to do? Am I living in the right way? Am I, you know, do I want to be doing more exercise? Do I want to be eating better? Do I want to be reading more? You know, it's that time to really look at what bad habits did I get into and how do I want to do things differently when we go into whatever this next phase is.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the counter to that is also I've taken the pressure off myself in this time.
yeah,
So, you know, I think part of my natural tendency is going, oh, I've got that space now. I'll write that book, or I'll do that thing, or I'll sew that quilt that I've been wanting to do for ages, or whatever it is. And it's also, actually, we don't have to be ticking too many other boxes other than looking after ourselves, our family, getting sad and frustrated if that's what we're feeling or what we're facing. Um, and that's okay. Like, I know for me, I have found during the days that even emotionally, I'm just kind of still riding a bit of that motivation wave. And I'm finding it's usually around that kind of 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, oh, I just feel spent.
I
And I'm
feel that.
not doing anymore. But I think it's just cognitively, you're
Mm.
more active and more busy. So it's totally okay just to kind of, yeah,
You
cut
probably
yourself a bit of slack.
you probably never had the space to listen to your body before.
No, no, I've heard that that's a good thing to do. But we cram the time with other things. Um, so yeah, to kind of take that pause and tune in.
Mm.
But I'm conscious also because and it's that making sure I've got that time and energy, because the business also now requires more than ever that productivity when I am working in it.
Yeah.
Because in order to have the runway, in order to secure the revenue, in order to provide value to our clients, then that needs the best of me as well, because that's going to be the thing that not only has us come through this, but has us prepare for what is next.
Mm.
Um, and part of where I'm thinking with that is not just in the next 3 months, but 6 months, 12 months,
Mm.
18 months. What might that look like if we have rolling lockdowns? If there might be pockets that come up in different areas, where do we then still have that security of work and value, and that we can be adaptable and flexible if that were to happen?
Mm. Mm. Absolutely. Oh, well, Ali, you've got such great perspective and some brilliant advice and frameworks and ways to think about things in there. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I wish you all the best for the remainder of the period, however long we're isolated in our homes. And I look forward to chatting to you soon.
Great to chat with you. Thanks so much, Naomi.
No problem. Thank you.